Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about a very active pattern as we head into December. So we are recording this on December 4th, and it looks like a good portion of the United States is about to enter a rather snowy and chilly pattern. Now, I'm not so confident about the cold aspect, as this will be rather regionally. However, the activity looks pretty active. A lot of rain for some, a lot of snow for others, and I believe that there could be a lot of areas that could be seeing a white Christmas this year, a lot more than in previous years. Especially across the northern part of the United States. And you can see this is kind of the European ensembles, and what they think I have pulled up here will be the snow for the next kind of 170 hours. And that is obviously just through the 11th of December. There's a lot of activity, a lot of individual storm systems, so it's going to be hard to formalize this video. I'm still obviously going to divide it by region, so you could click through the little scroll bar at the bottom and see what specific characteristics of this forecasting weather pattern your region will pick up on. Yeah, it looks very interesting and a little bit chaotic to say the least. So let's begin and let's start talking about the Northwest first off. Actually, before I do want to say it, kind of bring a little overview here, because I believe this is a good kind of thing for everyone to see. So the Climate Prediction Center, this is its official December outlook for December 2022. So notice this was issued on November 30th. It's December 4th, so it's still pretty fresh, and you can see a lot of the northern United States is favored to see a cooler than average December. Again, this is just a prediction. There's been many times where these predictions have gone kind of wrong for the Climate Prediction Center. Obviously, it's still probably the best 30-day forecast you could get. It's made by professionals, and their accuracy rate is pretty high still. So notice the southern United States is kind of favored to be drier. And look at this, the western United States looks to be wetter, while the central and kind of southern maybe United States a bit drier, while little pockets of green here with above. Again, this is more speculative, and the precipitation outlook is usually a bit more inaccurate because it's harder to predict, so that makes sense. So yeah, they're definitely indicating a cooler December, and I believe that this is for the northern half of the United States, and I believe this is pretty accurate. I agree with that. I also do want to show you currently what's going on with the radar. Again, there isn't any big storm currently going on now, but there's several different areas of interest. Notice across the southern United States we have a little bit of rain going on across Mississippi, Alabama. Again, nothing really too significant. Somewhat across Arizona, New Mexico as well. It was more significant yesterday. There actually were some pretty decent rainfall amounts. And we did have a lot of snow across the Sierras. In fact, if you were to take a look at some of the snowfall reports from the past 24 hours across these areas, and if you expand this past 72 and whatnot, you could see that a lot of these areas explode with snowfall amounts that are really, really impressive. So the western United States has been seeing a lot of snow, and I kind of want to emphasize on that because looking at the western United States snowpack, this doesn't include the Sierras, but I looked at the Sierra individually, and they're also well above their average in the 120 to 130% range of their normal snowpack. Look, a lot of the western United States is very healthy snowpack, so that's a good sign for the areas that are in a drought. Montana a bit less, and you can see Wyoming and Colorado and New Mexico, Arizona a bit more shabbier, but I believe that with the coming pattern, those amounts could make their way up. So now let's begin talking about the Northwest. Again, this is going to be kind of hard to show everything because there's different model interpretations, but let's do this one by one. And since a lot of you guys liked that I divided it into regions last time, I will obviously continue doing that. And again, if you have any advice for improvements, please let me know. I will do my best to make these videos a bit better for you guys. And yeah, so let's start off. Notice that the European model for the Northwest, right now we are dealing with snow. As I mentioned, across the radar you can see there is snow, and there actually is snow across even cities like Portland. So there's a lot of cold air, so a lot of this is a lot more prevalent than it normally would be in a Northwest kind of pattern. And let me actually zoom out of this just by a little bit because it's hard to grasp all of this. Notice we're going to see continued activity, continued flow. Notice Monday we see an increased flow from Northern California, from the Pacific Ocean. I'll show you the Southwest obviously in just a second, but for my Northwest viewers, obviously look at this and track it. If you live in Boise, if you live in Montana, if you live in Oregon, Washington, I can't go over every single area, but notice that there's going to be many areas of just kind of snow. It does seem that by Tuesday a lot of this will start clearing up, the activity, though Montana could be seeing some more, maybe a little bit of moisture coming into the Washington area, but you can see Idaho predominantly dry, Oregon, Wyoming also relatively dry. But by this upcoming late week, we see another storm, pretty big one, move in. This could drop a lot of rain and a lot of snow for the higher and lower elevations respectively, and you can see it really moves in through Northern California and Nevada, and then you could see Idaho by Friday. So again, this is still a little bit far out, but what I'm trying to show you guys is that for the Northwest, don't be a particular storm system that I kind of want to talk about, because the flow just continues. You can see moisture after moisture after moisture, and obviously this is you could call that a storm. It's a larger influx, but it's a bit further out, so the confidence is lower. But the main message is it looks cold, it looks snowy, and obviously for some areas, it won't be cold enough for snow, but predominantly it will be a very snowy forecast. For the next 240 hours, you can see a lot of precipitation. Now again, some of this will fall as rain, again not favoring really Wyoming, the areas eastern Wyoming where they're really drier, but the snowpack that's already healthy across these areas will continue building. So I mean, look at some of these amounts here, really incredible. And if I were to show you the snowfall amounts, obviously the snow isn't going to be falling everywhere, but if you look at some states like Idaho, right, I mean pretty much everywhere, obviously some amounts a bit less, but especially the Bitterroots, the mountain ranges are going to really benefit from this. A few areas across Oregon and Washington that won't be seeing snow, obviously cities like Seattle might be seeing a bit less, but even you could pick up a few inches by the looks of this. Montana, and again Wyoming, especially eastern, kind of the flat side of Wyoming, not really seeing a lot of snow here. Utah, Nevada picking up quite a bit. The Wasatch, I mean, pretty incredible snowpack forecasted here from the European model. So for you, I would say a lot of cold, especially in the near term, and a lot of precipitation for pretty much in the foreseeable future, the next week and a half. I'll be obviously keeping you guys updated on that. Let's switch regions now, as we have more stuff to talk about. So now let's begin talking about the Southwest. Well, I have the snowpack pulled up, so there we go. You can see that for the next few days, well, more than a few days, the next week and a half, there could be a lot of snow that falls. There has been already a lot of snow falling across the Sierra, as I showed you on those snowpack charts and those snowfall reports at the beginning of the video. But notice Colorado could be picking up a lot, Utah, Nevada, again, northern Arizona, New Mexico, not so much. That's a bit unfortunate, but at least the Sierra are picking up a lot, and obviously the rainfall will be pretty significant as well. A lot of this, a lot of, even you can see Arizona picking up some rain, southern Arizona, but obviously that won't be falling in the form of snow. So a lot of activity. Now let's go back and let me show you how this kind of plays out on the simulated radar that the European offers us. So notice we just got finished with the storm, but the flow will pick back up on Monday, so tomorrow. Notice that throughout the day we see increased moisture flow from the Pacific. Again, a few inches added easily through the Sierra, and you can see the spills into Nevada, into Utah, Colorado. And on Tuesday, we have this little disturbance here. This may not look like anything much, but this is going to play a pivotal role into the portions of the Midwest where it could start developing into a large storm and potentially deliver some snow and rain. So this is kind of what we're looking at in terms of the larger scale. We're keeping an eye on this little storm that's not only going to be bringing a lot of moisture for the West. Notice that Nevada, maybe Colorado picking up a little bit by Wednesday. And again, I'll run through this again. Here's the timeline. It's Monday. It's a bit hard to do this because this is in Central, or the kind of, I guess, London time. So for the Pacific here, it would be 11 p.m. Sunday, not 6 o'clock Monday. You have to adjust for the time zone. But notice Tuesday into Wednesday, the activity overall comes down to a kind of a calm by Thursday, but then it picks back up with another storm system on Friday and Saturday. And you can see that the European just shows storm after storm continuing in a long range. So things look very active. But again, we are really focused on this Tuesday thing, and it may not really be a big deal for you across the Southwest, and it really won't. But further out towards the east, it's something we have to watch for. 2-meter temperature anomaly, 2-meter temperature, so this is just what the thermometer is reading. Definitely a fair share of cold air, especially after every storm system that passes through and drops a fresh layer of snowpack. But it's gonna get, there's gonna be periods of moderation. Notice though, like Wednesday, this upcoming week, look how cold it's gonna get, right? I mean, that's definitely very, very cold. But again, as I mentioned, there's gonna be periods of moderation, and you can see that's in the longer range. Maybe some of that warmer air spilling in, and not as much cold air. But again, with every recurring storm system, you're going to see a cold front that passes through and brings additional snowpack, and obviously that would bring additional cold. So now move on to the north central United States. So you may be wondering why I'm showing you a whole scope of the United States as opposed to just the specific region like I did on the previous video. And the reason is because there is a difference of modeling, and the European model, which is only available on this website, Pivotal Weather for Me, has this region divided into like 3 separate regions. So let me just show this to you. It divides this into many different areas. Three, you can see, while the GFS on tropical tidbits divides this into one. So I'll just show you the national view, and I'll just focus on the north central United States, so I don't have to jump around 30,000 times. Notice the next few days for the north central United States are going to be rather uneventful. There's going to be cold air, obviously towards the north, especially as you get into southern Canada, pretty darn cold air. And as you get into portions of the Dakotas by Tuesday, there could be quite a bit of activity, and you can see that that activity could be in the form of snow mainly. Though anything that does fall is going to be pretty light. Now this is where the things start getting interesting. So by Wednesday, Thursday, there's a system that comes up again, the southwest, a little disturbance. It starts picking up a lot of moisture, and this is where things get interesting. Notice that it becomes by Thursday, there's a lot of moisture in the form of rain mainly. That's towards the southern area of the forecast region, and it starts spilling into Iowa, Illinois, potentially Nebraska, and then this is when things get pretty interesting. We see a lot of snow across Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. You can see some of this could be pretty heavy, and it's pretty slow moving, so a lot of this could be falling pretty intensely and could lead to some pretty significant accumulations. And you can see that kind of eventually drags into the northeastern United States. Now the snowfall amounts, according to the European model, which if correct, the European model has quite a bit of snow for some of these areas, and potentially even over a foot. And you can see that this is what it shows across some of these areas. These amounts are definitely significant. Now, if I were to show you the GFS, there is quite a stark difference, and the reason for this is well, they're just different, but it's again, this is something that's important, and it's a pretty big difference. So notice again, a little bit of light snow potentially on Tuesday, Monday across the north, maybe a bit of rain across the southern areas of the north central United States, and then we see this larger system come through. Notice the GFS includes very little snowfall, mainly rain, quite a bit of this heavy rain, and it's quicker moving, and it's more easternly oriented, and it moves off relatively quicker. So again, with the GFS, there's still quite a bit of rainfall potential. The QPF, you can see, is definitely going to be substantial. It's not going to be falling in the form of snow, though. So I'm leaning towards more of the European model, and I will show you why. If I were to take a look at the EPS, so this is an ensemble of the European family. So many models combined into one average look. They, over the past few days, have been a lot more consolidating with this, and a lot more agreement, if you will. So there's 51 members here, and notice that they show a general swath of snow here developing across the Midwest, indicating that there's a lot of disagreements, but there's some sign of this. Now, this was one day ago. The most current model run, you can see, shows a lot more snow now. So they are becoming in more agreement and are trending towards potentially an event occurring here. If I were to show you the GFS family, so the GEFS on this website for the north central United States, you would see that the snowfall just a day ago was all over the place again, right? So there was an indication there could be some sort of storm occurring here. And the most current model run is really not much difference. There hasn't been much consolidating. There hasn't been much of a trend. So as of now, I am favoring the European model, as they seem to be more consistent. Let's move on to the South Central United States, and let's start off with the European model. Again, I'm showing you the entire United States. I'll just be focusing on these states. I'm not showing it by region, because again, there's different websites. This website divides the South Central United States into 3 different regions. The tropical tidbits shows just one, so I'm just going to show you the bigger one for easiness of showing this. Notice the beginning period of this will be pretty dry. There will be some rain across the southeast, but for the south central United States, mainly impacting areas like Arkansas. As we get towards Tuesday, Wednesday, we see a warm influx of air as a disturbance settles itself across Colorado, picks up some moisture, and according to the European, you can see quite a bit of this moisture comes falling down in some pretty heavy precipitation rates. And again, it comes out of there pretty quickly by late Thursday, Friday. It's pretty much out of there, the south central United States, but it's going to leave quite a bit of rainfall. If I were to show you the total QPF, it's let's limit it to Friday. It's pretty significant, especially where that stripe, where that cold front could settle its south south across Oklahoma. There could be quite a bit of rain there. Looking at a different model now, the GFS, you can see the rainfall amounts are in a different fashion. So again, that's already a lot different, which is why I'm showing you 2 different models. and that's just the overall positioning of the system is also different. So let me show you this again. Starting off pretty dry, a little bit of showery activity, and we start seeing the stream of moisture as opposed to more a cohesive system. We see more of the stream of moisture eventually developing into a system on Thursday, Friday, and then that's out of here. So yeah, you can see obviously not all of the south central United States will be seeing rainfall, but it's going to be a good amount. And as I showed you, similarly to the European, whichever area does get in on that heaviest precip, there could be quite a bit of it. So that's the south central United States. Again, south central United States. In terms of the temperature, it's going to start off a bit cooler with that, most recent cool down, but it's going to end up moderating. You can see 60s, 50s by Tuesday, Wednesday, and then with that system right out ahead of it, there could be some very warm temperatures, but behind it, it could be bringing down a little bit of cooler. And you can see on Saturday, it's definitely a toned down temperature feel. So that's the south central United States. Let's now move on to the Northeast. So notice if next few days are pretty dry, it's going to be colder, but with warm temperatures becoming some more moderation, if you will, a southerly flow. By Tuesday, we could start seeing some moisture getting in here across the Northeast, mainly in the form of rain. And then by Wednesday, this continues, so you can see the Northeast is going to be kind of stuck in perpetual little rainfall event. And then we see that bigger storm across the Midwest that starts formulating. Again, depending on the European or GFS outcome, this could mean quite a bit of a difference for the Northeast. You can see the GFS shows a lot of rain, but then it kind of slows down its eastern or northern track, and it goes more eastwardly, and then potentially develops into some sort of a cyclone, maybe delivering some snow, some rain. Again, the details are still uncertain, but it does look like a very rainy week for the Northeast, unlike the other areas that are going to start off dry and then turn wet. So notice just through 174 hours, a lot of rain could be occurring here. And again, minimal amounts of snow, if any at all, depending especially on how that later system develops. There could be some snow, but for now, not much. Across Canada, there could be a bit more. But again, even that maybe is slightly overdone by the GFS. The European interpretation of this, let's take a look at the northeastern United States here, and let me show you. So again, this is where we start seeing a lot of that precipitation. Similar to the GFS, it starts introducing it Tuesday, right, Wednesday, and then unlike the GFS, which develops a very large system, you can see the European shows already pretty well developed, more cold fronts. It's more of a cohesive kind of rain bands instead of just these showers coming in from the south. So that's one difference. And then that bigger system you can see comes in from the central United States on Friday, so a bit later than the GFS. It's a bit slower, and it does take that eastwardly track, a little bit of snow, but it doesn't develop into anything big off the east coast. So that's definitely a difference there. Still, the rainfall amounts are pretty significant, I would say. And you can see that there's many areas that are dealing with quite substantial amounts of rain. Again, rain, mainly rain, not really in the form of snow. There could be some pockets, especially as you saw across maybe Pennsylvania, but again, this may be also overdone, depending on which model is correct. Across the southeast, it starts off very dry, not really much going on, a few pockets of rain. Notice on Monday, maybe one expanding across. You could see the kind of Alabama, Georgia. Really, it's going to look similar to what we're dealing with currently on the radar, just these pockets of rainfall that's old right here that are not really anything too significant, but definitely could obviously create a impact. And as I put this forward, you can see that kind of continues meandering, a lot of moisture. And then with that system on Friday and Thursday across the Midwest, there could be some more moisture consolidating, especially across the northern, southern areas. And then that thing gets out of there, warm air continues, and relatively kind of moist pattern continues. So in terms of the total amount of precipitation that occurs from this, you could see it's pretty significant, especially across the northern, southern areas, so Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, but even as far south as, Alabama, Mississippi, and the Gulf Coast areas of those states could be seeing some precipitation. So again, let's go back now and give you a general overview of the forecast area, because as much as you guys like doing the regions, when we have an event that is still very uncertain and flipping between the models in different regions is very tough. So I want to give you guys a overview of the entire United States. So again, depending on which model comes true, I'm favoring the European. You can see there's there's that little system right there on Tuesday that makes its way into the southwest. It's really hidden, stays hidden until it starts gathering some moisture from the south, and then it plummets further north, and you can see that delivers again some snow, potentially pretty heavy amounts across Iowa, maybe Illinois, Nebraska, and then it scatters into the northeast as a weakened system. So that is obviously one scenario. The other one is the GFS, where it's a lot quicker moving, and one that is not necessarily as exciting for the snow lovers. Or just snow lovers. Notice that the GFS takes that system, develops it on Wednesday, Thursday, but nothing really comes of it in terms of the snowfall, though it does become a stronger system once it reaches the northeast, unlike the European that weakens it. However, all models show a very active pattern in the future, and you can see that there could be a lot of moisture coming through system after system, potentially some bigger ones, some smaller ones. So it's chaotic, and that's what I meant at the beginning of the video, because there's no individual large system. There's just a lot of moisture. You could see that we have that storm coming in, right, the one we're talking about, another potentially surge right there developing into some, just everywhere. There's so much to track. And yeah, I think that there's a decent chance that a lot of the northern United States could end up with snow. You can see either from these little bands, from the larger system, and look at the Northwest. It's just this constant flow. Northwest and Southwest, constant flow. And if you look at the total snowfall, these amounts will be pretty ridiculous in the longer range, and the models have been consistent with that. And you can see there's obviously some changes depending on the exact track, some a bit further south, some a bit northern north, but yeah, it looks very, very snowy overall, and the European supports that message. Again, they just have their differences between individual storm tracks. And notice total snowfall 240 hours out, we see again, so this is not as far out as the GFS, still a pretty broad area, especially across the west getting in here. And as we get, especially towards Christmas time, there could be a lot more snow across the north central United States. So yeah, a lot of differences, a lot of activity, a lot of storm potential. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you guys know what's kind of coming. I'll keep you guys updated, especially on this upcoming storm on Wednesday and Thursday. But for now, that's basically it, and I wanted to end the video. All right, thank you guys for watching. See ya. Bye.